Today on
Doomed!
Welcome to the Scam Economy with your host, Matt Bender.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show. Hold on, I'm having some technical difficulties. There we go. Okay, my microphone was messed up, but it should be fixed now. Threads, Twitter, Blue Sky, Mastodon, Post, T2 Social. I'm running out of time to be posting on all this stuff. I feel like I'm missing some of them too. There's others too, right? There's doesn't Occupy Democrats have Treble, and then there's also another one by some resistance guy called Spoutable. And I'm sure I'm forgetting even more. Everyone wants to have their very own Twitter, I guess. And it's going to be a ridiculous time posting on all this stuff. And I'm doing a stream tonight because it's Wednesday night, July 5th, and Meta has just launched their version of their Twitter competitor, Threads. And, I usually do a show. I do shows Wednesdays nights sometimes. And, by the way, this is a Doomed and Scam Economy crossover live stream, by the way, because this episode's going to really touch upon things that are relevant to both shows. And so, Threads launches. I heard it was supposed to come out in mid-July, but here it is. July 5th, it's out. And it's pretty obvious that the reason it's out right now, at least from my perspective here, is that Meta saw an opportunity here with Elon Musk's ridiculous decisions over the past couple of days over on Twitter. And I think that's where we should start, right? That's where we should start. And there's a whole bunch of things I want to touch upon. But let's start there. Because, listen, we all know that when Elon Musk took over the company, took over Twitter in October of last year, things have been a little bit different over there at Twitter. Things like the degradation of various features of on the platform, policy changes that allow Twitter to be a less safe space, I guess you can say, for marginalized groups. Listen, I've always been a big fan of the absolute shit posting and dunking on people on Twitter. And I don't even mind it when it happens to me. In fact, me being the masochist I am, I get a disturbing pleasure out of getting dunked on Twitter by all the right people that you want to get dunked on. But, when you see the platform's owner saying what he says about trans people, and then you get Musk declaring that on Twitter the term cisgender is a slur, I mean, things get ridiculous. I mean, there's no other way to describe that. I mean, come on. But I will say, even everything that's happened there so far, nothing really, yeah, sure, the degradation of various things and Twitter going down at times, sure. But those are all things that maybe lasted a day or so. And yeah, certain features not always working. I think the vast majority of users, not the power users obviously, but the vast majority of users could look over something like that. I just can't use that feature for now, whatever. But I really do think that this past week at Twitter has been the first real time that the mainstream Twitter audience, the power user, Twitter obsessed. I'm throwing myself in there, obviously. I'm got almost like 150,000 followers on there. I'm a friggin' freak over on Twitter. Friggin' loser on there, spending all my time on there. But for the vast majority of users, I think this past week is the first time where Elon Musk's decisions has affected the whole swath of them. It's not just like, oh, this group is being a shit on Twitter. Oh, this specific subsection of Twitter users don't like this move. But when on Friday, he basically decided to block all visitors to twitter.com who are not logged in from viewing anything. I think that's the first time he really, a decision from him really made everybody, even the mainstream Twitter audience, doesn't have an account, they're not in the bubble like we are. If you're in the same Twitter bubble as me, following the everyday droll and shit that happens there. This past Friday was the first time it affected the people who, like, your parents who you send a tweet to. Oh, check this out, Ma. It's the first time everybody who's ever gone to Twitter was like, what the hell is going on here? I can't access this shit while I'm logged out. The tweet embeds aren't showing up in iMessage or on Slack or whatever other messaging app I use. The embeds weren't always working because if you're not logged in, you might not see the embed. So on Friday, if you weren't logged into a Twitter account, you couldn't see anything. Twitter would automatically forward you to a login page. And another thing I should mention too, and this is a big deal. Actually, I should say this first. So when I was reporting this on Friday, I found a little nugget of information that I hadn't seen anyone else report. And that was that I found this Twitter blog post, like an official Twitter blog post from 2015. And in it was the first and only time, as far as I could find, where Twitter gave a stat on how many users, well, I should say visitors when I'm talking about people who aren't logged in, but let me say that. How many visitors who weren't logged into Twitter would visit the website on a monthly basis? And that is a really big number. I was actually a little bit surprised. And this is a 2015 number too. This is a stat from 5 to 8 years ago now. So you better believe, no matter what Musk has done to the site, you better believe that it's grown from this number 8 years on. According to this Twitter blog post, 500 million people visited Twitter on a monthly basis who were not logged into the platform. That's huge. That's 500 million people visiting, and it makes total sense. Like if the platform has around 250 million users, then no doubt about it, double that amount is going to the site because they see tweets embedded on swath of different pages, whether it be a news article, a website with a how-to or whatever, just I'm running through the gamut of different types of websites. And then, of course, you get people who share things to people who aren't hardcore Twitter users. And remember, out of all these big tech platforms, Twitter isn't really that big. It's smaller than TikTok even. It's smaller than YouTube, obviously. Smaller than Facebook, obviously. Smaller than Instagram. Smaller. I think the only other platform that I can think of on that sort of level that it's bigger than might be Pinterest. And that's like really niche too. So it makes total sense. And basically what Musk did with this login requirement on Friday was stop those 500 million plus people from consuming Twitter content. And you would think, oh, maybe they will just create an account. Well, I'm sure some people did. But I can assure you the vast majority of people are just going to not go. And I actually saw a few people share their conversations with older relatives, parents, whatever. Like, oh, this tweet, it's not opening for me. It says I got to log in. Yeah, they just made that change. It's all right. I'll wait to see it somewhere else. Like, people who aren't sick in the head with this online brain that I'm sure you and I, my listeners and viewers, have. But that's the vast majority of the people. The vast majority who don't have this sickness that we have are just like, oh, I can't just really easily click this link and see the content. It's all right. I'll wait to see it somewhere else. Like, it makes sense though, right? Think about how, like, I mean, myself, I'm pretty lazy. I'm the ultimate procrastinator. It's not opening, and I gotta make an account, fill out information. Now, I'll pass. So that's just an incredible move. And an additional thing that I was going to mention, but I wanted to mention that stat first. That additional thing I wanted to mention, and I thought of this right away, was if you're blocking the web version from being accessible, then you're likely blocking the search engine web crawlers too. And of course you are, though, because Elon Musk's whole reason for instituting this change on Friday was because he was complaining that Twitter was receiving an insane amount of usage and it was crippling the platform from, he blamed it on web scrapers with an additional nod to like AI language model data scrapers that are training those language models. And he also blamed manipulators. I'm guessing, I don't know, spam bots, I guess. People who are pulling Twitter's data, acting as if they're a regular user. Something that we'll get to in a second, which the funny thing is that I've seen overlooked, is that the reason that probably happened, if their version of events as to why they instituted this change is legit and to be believed, the reason is likely partially, at the very least, due to Elon Musk's changes to the API, which would have been the official means for people to access Twitter data if you're running like a web platform or a software as a service or whatever. So by blocking those web scrapers, what ended up happening is Twitter got a number of its pages de-indexed from Google. I saw Search Engine Land actually ran like the numbers, and they noticed that Twitter had lost 60% of the pages they had indexed in Google. So what does that mean? If you don't know, that's fine. I'll explain it for you. So when you search on Google, the results are basically what you see thanks to these web crawlers who sift through the internet and rank these pages, based on how relevant they are to that keyword you're searching. A lot of it has to do with the link authority, i.e., how many other authoritative websites are linking back to your link. That has a lot to do with it. Also, the keywords you use in your posts. There's a number of different factors, but those are like the main things. But if those web crawlers can't see your content because you're blocking them from view for those search engines, then they can't index them in the search results. And what that means is when someone searches on Google, maybe they used to see someone's Twitter profile page if they were searching for an individual. Or maybe there was a specific tweet that ranked really well for a specific set of keywords. Well, Twitter lost that on Google when they blocked web content from view unless you're logged in. And when you do that, Google unlists those links. So Twitter lost 60% of their indexed links in Google, which means they've likely lost, on top of already blocking those at least 500 million people a month who are visiting, they've also lost the traffic from Google search. 60% of it at the least. So amazing, right? This is This is the decision from the great tech genius Elon Musk, you know? I am going to need to take a few breaks throughout because it's really hot in here to take a drink of my soda so I'm not parched. So that's the first thing Musk did on Friday. And then on Saturday, oh my God. I actually didn't feel the pain as much as others, and I'll explain to you why. But on Saturday, people were logging into Twitter and trying to scroll and see tweets. And then all of a sudden, it would say like, oh, you've been rate limited. You've reached your limit. Your rate limit. And that's something that happens if you're a web scraper, for example, and you're just pouring through all the tweets in the feed. Twitter's going to likely notice you are, using the platform beyond the normal use, a fair use, and they would probably rate limit you, which is fair. A lot of these platforms have terms of service that say that there are carve-outs for fair use. If, one specific user or a group of specific users are adding undue strain to a platform, then they can say, hey, you're not using the platform like everybody else. You're taking advantage and it's ruining the experience of everybody else. That's nothing out of the ordinary. But for the vast majority of users to log in and experience that, however, is abnormal. That's not the normal online experience for a platform. So people were noticing this. And then let me actually pull up Elon's specific tweet, because it's amazing here. I mean, I was actually in shock. I've never seen anything like this. The owner of a platform telling its users, it's logged in users, by the way. This isn't now, we're not talking about you're not logged in, so you're not a user, even though I just explained to you why that's a ridiculous thought process to begin with. But that could be, I guess, the thought process nonetheless. I'm sure another thing that Musk probably thought was, if we lock out non-logged in users, that might force them to create an account, and that will help pump up and drive up our daily, monthly active user count. And that's the stat that you sell to your advertisers, right? Oh, we have 250 plus million daily active users, or monthly active users, whatever stat they want to go by. That's like the industry norm, not the weird stat Elon Musk has started using about unregretted minutes on the platform. That's the stat that makes me think that partially the decision to lock out non-logged in users was to pump up those registered accounts, because that's not an industry used metric. No one's selling ads to brands and companies and corporations by saying, oh, we have this many unregretted user minutes. That's not a fucking metric people use. It's just a bullshit number Twitter made up. So I do think that's part of it. But again, that's just my personal speculation here. Now back to the rate limiting stuff. So to limit the use of your platform for the vast majority of your registered users, though, that is unheard of. So people are noticing they're getting this error message. So they assume, Twitter's having server errors. There's something wrong with Twitter. It's a bug. Someone's going to log in and fix it soon, right? Wrong. So Elon Musk announced that to address extreme levels of data scraping and system manipulation, we've applied the following temporary limits. Verified accounts are limited to reading 6,000 posts a day. So if you're a Twitter Blue subscriber paying $8 per month, you could read 6,000 posts a day. And I put read in quotes, and I'll tell you why in a second. Elon Musk continues. Unverified accounts to 600 posts a day, and new unverified accounts to 300 posts a day. And the previous day he called that logged out limitation a temporary, what was it, like a temporary extreme measure or something like that. It was where is what he called it? I don't even know where it is anymore. Where he's called it like a temporary extreme measure or something like that. Anyway, so he was purposely limiting the use of users on his platform. And the reason I put read in quotation marks here is because, you might say 6,000 posts, even 600 posts a day. You're not reading 600 Twitter posts a day. Well, of course you're not. But that's also not what Twitter's going by. They don't know. Twitter can't know what posts you actually read. The limit is counting all the posts that get served to you in the feed. And not just the timeline feed, but also when you click to open up a tweet in the tweet view page that, has the view, which shows all the metrics and everything and the replies and all that. All those replies that load up count too. So what you get is you pulled, you're on the Twitter app. You pull down to refresh your feed. I forget how many tweets Twitter loads up every time you do that, but for the sake of argument, let's say, it loads up 25 new tweets. Well, you might not look at any of those 25 new tweets. You might just see the first couple and decide, not interested, and pull down again for another refresh. Those 25 tweets Twitter loaded up, that counts to your 600 posts. You open up a tweet view to hit to see a few replies or whatever, or to click the quote tweets button to read the quote tweets. And those quote tweets, by the way, when it loads up, those count too. So all those replies, it just loaded 20 replies, there goes 20 more tweets. So people were getting rate limited just after loading up a few tweet pages, refreshing the feed a few times, and locked out of Twitter. Again, you might say, oh, you're obsessed with Twitter. All right, fine. But I mean, the owner of the platform is basically taking away views from advertisers, telling them that, hey, you're only going to there's only a certain number of people that can see your shit every day, see your ads, see your videos. Why advertise on that platform if it's limiting how many people can see your stuff? It makes no sense. It makes no sense. So throughout the day, Musk would raise those limits a bit, right? I think he went from 600 to 800 at one point. Just ridiculous stuff though to do that. And so people were trying to find workarounds, and some people found a workaround through TweetDeck, the desktop Twitter app for power users. If you don't know what TweetDeck is, basically it gives you a Twitter experience about multiple feeds. Like you could open up this desktop app, and instead of the one main home feed, you could open up side by side a number of different feeds. Like you could have a feed of people on, I don't know, a friends list that you made. It's just with people you know in real life. And then you could have made another list with journalists you follow, and just have the feed of that refreshes with tweets from the journalists you follow. So people found that TweetDeck wasn't being rate limited. It appears that, Twitter and Elon Musk didn't remember TweetDeck, or perhaps Elon didn't even know TweetDeck existed. Well, people who found that workaround only had about a day or two with it, because then on Monday, Twitter announced that, hey, we released a brand new version of TweetDeck. Completely looks new, everything. Oh, and by the way, when you download it and update it, we forgot to tell you that we've added the rate limit there. So he started rate limiting people, the people who actually wanted to get on Twitter so much that they found a workaround. He stopped them from accessing his platform too. And then Twitter also added another bonus for people who enjoyed using TweetDeck. In 30 days, TweetDeck is going to be only for Twitter Blue subscribers. So in 30 days, I guess it's less than 30 now, if you're not paying for Twitter Blue, you won't be able to use TweetDeck anymore. So that's wonderful. Limiting another way for people to use the platform. It's really, really amazing, isn't it? People in the people in my the live chat apparently did not know they're gonna do that. I'm sorry, guys. Yep, I hate to break the news for you. It seems like TweetDeck is quite beloved, I guess. Yeah, you're gonna have to pay for Twitter Blue and have the check mark of shame. If you want to use TweetDeck. And I forgot to mention, the reason the rate limits didn't really affect me is because I still have the check mark pro bono gifted to me by Elon Musk himself. So I'm not rate limited at the same level as all the peons and plebs, whatever you want. I can't even. It's late. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. It's almost midnight. But yeah. I mean, really, just the enshittification of Twitter really, I think, hit a new level this week. And all over a 4th of July weekend, too, over a holiday weekend. When usage of your real-time social media platform would probably be at one of its peaks, right? He decided to do all this then. I really do think this hits Twitter in a way that all the other decisions... I mean, listen, we could certainly talk about how the other decisions are more harmful, bringing back the neo-Nazis, the white supremacists, the anti-vaxxers, the disinformation spreaders, all those terrible people. We could certainly argue that all of these things are worse, more harmful to people. But I do step out of my bubble. And if you're not in the politics bubble or the tech bubble, and you look at mainstream Twitter groups, sports Twitter, Black Twitter, K-pop stan Twitter, most of those previous decisions from Musk just did not hit like mainstream or pop culture Twitter in the same ways it did news Twitter, media Twitter, politics Twitter, leftist Twitter, etc. So, yeah, I mean, this week was a bad week for Twitter. And I do wonder, so today, July 5th, I noticed, and a couple of other users noticed, that Twitter was already rolling back some of those limitations on not logged in users. I'm going to guess, because they were getting hit SEO-wise, traffic-wise, too. But not totally. So if you have a direct link to a tweet, that should work now. And embeds on other platforms like iMessage and stuff should work now, too. But you still can access profiles. And if you click on someone's profile after you get to their tweet, you can see the bio, but you can't see their tweet feed. You can't see replies to those tweets that do work either. So it's still, and you can't visit any other page on Twitter. Look, I want to explain how insane it is, the decision. If you go to twitter.com, not logged in, it doesn't bring you to like a nice homepage convincing you to sign up or give you a feed of tweets convincing you to sign up. It literally sends you directly to a pop-up telling you to log in. That's it. No like call to action page saying like, oh, Twitter is a great place to such and such. No, just you go to twitter.com and it's like, fuck you, log in. Literally, like, it's just ridiculous. So, all right, let's get to the API thing. So I've really been on this beat. I think more so than anybody else. And I think it's been highly looked over. And I think it's incredible to me because this is happening in tandem with what Reddit did to their API, charging for it too, just like Twitter did. In fact, Reddit CEO Steve Huffman, said he looked to Elon Musk's running of Twitter for inspiration, which is mind-blowingly insane. I mean, you want to talk about a scam economy? The tech industry, looking at someone destroying a company, losing half of the advertisers, and cutting out 2/3 of the value it sold for to Musk. And the other companies look to him and say, this is inspiring. That's the perfect encapsulation of the scam economy right there, right? I mean, ridiculous. So the Reddit API stuff got a lot of attention. And I'm going to do an episode on that too. So let's not get into that too much here. But Reddit started charging for what used to be a free API, and basically a bunch of really popular Reddit apps had to shut down because they could not afford it. The most popular, I believe, was the Reddit client Apollo for Reddit. And the developer who was responsible for that app basically said it was going to cost him $20 million a year, $20 million to pay Reddit a year for access to the API for him to continue running the app, and he just couldn't afford it. He had to shut it down. So on the Twitter end, though, the API issue, most users haven't really been focusing on it, and I don't get why. Like on Reddit, they had the protests, the blackouts. People are still protesting. Subreddits are still on private or only posting like photos of John Oliver, or doing all sorts of like actions to protest the Reddit decision to charge for the API. Twitter users, for the most part, have barely even noticed this. And this is really bad to me. I mean, that's why I've been covering it so hard. Third-party developers, in a lot of ways, are really important to platforms. I mean, I think a great example of it is like, how many of you still use Facebook? Like, Facebook feels like such a walled garden, and not in a good way. Like, the Apple App Store is to me an example of a successful walled garden, whereas they do accept third-party developers, but they have to just go through Apple's, submission process, so that Apple makes sure that, malicious apps make their way into people's iPhones. And I think that's why iPhone is so popular. But Facebook has like this walled garden where basically like they don't offer very much through their API. That's why you don't see very much like third-party Facebook apps. They do exist. There's, of course, apps that post to Facebook, things like that. But in terms of like all these like fun apps that you see, like on Reddit and on Twitter, there were all these apps like clients that gave you a whole different experience where you could just see the full Twitter feed or full Reddit feed in a completely different user interface or in a completely different way. They each have all these different like analytics apps, or they did for the most part, these analytics apps where you could see all sorts of different measures. You can search through different like there was advanced search apps where you could find tweets or Reddit posts and even Reddit comments, because third-party developers were doing all different stuff with these apps. Then of course you had the bots, the good bots, especially on Twitter. A lot of like things that like the Pepito, that one is an example of one that's still running. Pepito, the cat, that there's a security cam that posts a photo every time Pepito leaves the house and comes into the house. And then there's one that did have to shut down that was really popular on Twitter. Excuse me. Make it a quote, where someone would say tweet something, you would reply at make it a quote, and the make it a quote bot would give you one of those like inspirational quote images with that Twitter user's avatar and then their tweet in like one like stylized in that image. They would be pretty funny sometimes. Well, that's an example of a bot that's dead now because of Twitter's API changes. Anyway, that's why I think these APIs are important. They give people a way to use these platforms in better ways sometimes, in different ways, which sometimes can be better, and provides all sorts of additional use cases and utility that the main platforms don't always give. And I also think, and I think this is also overlooked part of this too, these third-party developers, oftentimes they're like self-taught coders. They're no-code people sometimes who've taught themselves no-code systems. Students, people who they don't have a tech background, or they don't, maybe don't know someone in tech. They don't have funding, because to start a platform from scratch, it costs money to build from scratch, to develop a platform that has to bring in users. But when these already big platforms allow these third-party developers access to their API, these developers a lot of times can build something cool, but on top of these existing platforms, basically taking advantage of this built-in user base. Like if you build a brand new Twitter competitor, you try to convince people to go there, you have no money, no backing, it's gonna be hard. But say you just created this cool app that adds some new feature to Twitter that Twitter itself doesn't have built in. There's a whole bunch of already existing Twitter users that might want to use your app. It's a lot easier to find a user base. And so I think one thing that's been overlooked is that that equal playing field that this API access gave a lot of developers. Kids with no background or money behind them to make something cool and get noticed, or even make a couple $1,000 a month and build a business with that app itself. That's gonna die out, and you're gonna find the tech industry to be a much more insular place. It already is, but it's gonna be even more so, in my opinion. And I think that's been looked over, honestly. And I've tried to point that out where I could. But anyway, so Twitter is charging a lot of money for the API. And I've spoken to developers who pay $100 a month for it, which is like a really limited version of it. Like you could barely, maybe if you just launch an app and have 0 users, or maybe just onboard a few users, you could maybe use the $100 version. And then there's a $5,000 version, which is for slightly larger apps, but still not that many, actually. $5,000 per month, and it's still limited. And then there's the enterprise API tier, which the vast majority of actual apps with meaningful user bases have to basically put out money for. And that tier starts, I want to stress, starts at $42,000 per month. $42,000 per month. This used to be free. And I know people are saying, "Oh, it's really easy. Just don't pay Twitter." And I get it. You could say that to someone who's like, "Oh, I want the check mark. I'm going to pay $8." You don't need that check mark. But unfortunately, if you're running a platform that was based on the Twitter API, you're running a social media posting app that lets users log into your platform and they can post to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all the different places all at once. And you've been running this business for years, and you have maybe, 5,000, 10,000 users paying who knows how much a month. That's your living. It might even be big enough for a company with employees. You're kind of stuck if you're still making more money than the $42,000 per month. You're sort of stuck paying that $42,000 per month. So they pay it. And also, I want to point out that this also, bringing up how the API tiers is going to make it harder. If you're starting, you're not going to be able to spring for the $42,000 per month. You're not going to be able to spring for the $5,000 per month plan. So you're not going to be able to, new apps based on the Twitter API are just you're not going to see them. It's basically going to be the same companies that built up their business enough to the point where when Elon Musk sprung this $42,000 per month thing on them, they were luckily for them already big enough where they could afford to pay for it. So hope you didn't like seeing new Twitter stuff pop up, because you're not going to see much of it. So I've been speaking to a lot of these developers, paying all the tiers, including the $42,000 per month tier. And I published a piece last week on it. And basically, the API breaks all the time for them too. That's right. The thing these developers are paying $42,000 per month for, it's breaking for them. Their app will just suddenly get completely disconnected from the Twitter API, and there'll be hours where their users can't use their app. Sometimes there's days before they even hear from Twitter support. And then on top of that, I spoke to some developers who were paying for the lower tiers, the $100 per month and the $5,000 per month tiers, and found that every couple of weeks, Twitter removes features from their version of the plan and makes it only accessible for the $42,000 per month plan. So here's an example. I spoke to the developer of what's one of the oldest Twitter apps, at least, again, that I could find, who unfollowed me, this app that basically tracks your Twitter followers and following list. It's been around for like 14 years. So the guy pays for Twitter, the Twitter API. And he pays for it because they allow him, through the plan he was paying for, to access a users, like the users who sign up for his app. He can access their follower and following list so that the app works. Well, last week, all of a sudden, they decided, without any heads up to these people who already were paying Twitter, that, you know what, you can't access the follower and following list anymore. That's only for the enterprise people, the people paying $42,000 per month. So all those apps that needed that access, they already paid Twitter this month, and now their app is dead too. It's ridiculous. Again, talk about the scam economy. I mean, and I saw people say that they requested a refund from Twitter, and Twitter said no. It's insane. It's insane. So why is it, it's relevant for, and I wanted to do, again, I'm going to do a broader episode on API stuff, but I'm bringing this up because let's now circle back around to the rate limiting and the blocking logged out users because of web scrapers. Previously, when they were still a free, robust version of the Twitter API, apps would sign up for Twitter's API and officially get approved by Twitter, and then through the official means set up by Twitter, access this data, tweets, followers, following, profiles, you name it. They would access all this stuff through the Twitter API, the proper channels. And by doing this, Twitter could monitor how the specific apps were using Twitter. And if someone was taking advantage, then they could charge them. And Twitter did have enterprise plans previously. It just had a very generous free tier that, like, you had to be a really big app using Twitter an insane amount. I think it was over like 2 million tweets per month. And then Twitter would be like, all right, you're using it a lot. There's a plan for your usage. But when you take away this access from this large swath of people, some people might be like, all right, I'm just not going to use it anymore. But if this is your business or you need that data, you're going to find other means. And the other means is through web scraping. And that's what I think is partially, at least, behind this. Twitter has created a monster of its own. If you have a swath of hardcore users who were previously accessing data through the API, all of a sudden having to do it through unofficial means by web scraping, that's going to cause that burden. I also saw that there was like some Twitter error where just like regular usage was causing the page that you would go to like refresh and reload like 1,000 times. or something like that. It was just, Twitter is going through so much shit right now. And that's why we have the Threads launch tonight, July 5th. Now I'm talking to you guys. It's now July 6th. Twitter screwed the pooch here. Musk messed up big time. And all these platforms smell blood in the water. Blue Sky is growing. I think it has like 200,000 users now. And this is an invite-only app with no pre-existing user base. Threads launched, connected to Instagram, and I saw Zuckerberg post in like 5 hours, they already have 5 million users. I mean, I don't know exactly all right. So a lot of people have put this, you've heard it probably since the day Musk bought Twitter. I give this app 2 weeks, 2 days, 2 minutes. Twitter's dead. Twitter's dead. It has, putting a time frame on it. I've said this before. It's not going to go down that way. I never gave any sort of prediction or proclamation that Twitter has any set time or that there's going to be just one thing that kills Twitter. It's not how it's going to work. Twitter's going to continue to go on for at least the foreseeable future. But what you're going to get is you're going to get a death by 1,000 cuts. That's what's going to be what does Twitter in. You just have to, this isn't going to be shocking either. Just look back at how other platforms have petered out. I think MySpace is a great example. The last big sort of social media platform that was once the cream of the crop and then completely lost it isn't even talk, it doesn't even have a niche anymore. Even Tumblr still has their niche user base. MySpace is nothing now. It went from the top, the king, to nothing. And if you look what happened, much like Musk buying Twitter, MySpace had a huge company come in and buy them too. News Corp, the owners of Fox News, Rupert Murdoch, he acquired Twitter when it was at its peak. And for a year or so, it was all right. Nothing really crazy, but they just didn't get social media in the same way Musk didn't get social media. And little by little, they screwed with things that worked. Little by little, they didn't launch anything new to keep people around. Little by little, they devalued what the platform was worth. They tried to over monetize it in the same way you're seeing Musk do. And competitors were coming out. They were just in the right place at the right time. Facebook, for example. And MySpace just petered out. And Facebook, it's important to realize that Facebook didn't replace MySpace. Sure, individuals who are on MySpace, they probably moved over to Facebook. But MySpace also had a really strong social network for bands and musicians. And when MySpace died, there was never a platform that took that empty hole that was left for those bands and musicians and the fans of those bands and musicians. So the idea that something's just going to come in and just outright replace Twitter, it's not going to happen. It's going to be something similar here. And I think all these different competitors are sort of proof of that scenario playing out, right? So Twitter continues to fuck with stuff. That death by 1,000 cuts, they're going to lose people. Certain niche groups are going to go to Blue Sky. You see a lot of leftists go there. You see a lot of techies go there. You saw niche groups go to Mastodon. You see a lot of academics go there, and a lot of programmers and developers go there. Spill just launched, another Twitter competitor created by 2 former black Twitter employees, and I got an invite code on there, and I went in there. It was a whole different world from Blue Sky and Mastodon. It was already populated by pretty much all of Black Twitter, and Black Twitter's all of Black Twitter's user base was there, and there are people who had like 10,000 followers there already to this like invite only app that I was barely even familiar with. So that niche has already got a place with Spill. Black Twitter's a huge part of Twitter. If they lose that to Spill, like in totality, then Twitter's screwed on that front as well. And then you have Meta launching this Threads by Instagram today. I mean, shit, I don't know what else you can, how else you could hurt Twitter, but Instagrammers, influencers, lifestyle people, fitness people, fashion people, they all prefer, as far as I've seen, Instagram to Twitter. So if you got a platform that gives them Twitter functionality, but brings their user base from Instagram, which is usually much bigger than their Twitter user base, then man, I don't know why they would continue using Twitter, honestly. I mean, maybe they would continue using it because it is one of their many platforms, but I would assume they would prefer the one connected to Instagram where they have more followers. I mean, all we need is like a Twitter competitor specifically for sports Twitter, a Twitter competitor for like streamers and YouTubers and creators, which I consider creators to be different than influencers, because Instagram influencers and those types don't always create at least good content that's not just like brand sponsored bullshit. But I mean, yeah, I think Twitter might be screwed. Again, will it just die out? No, I think you'll see that death by 1,000 cuts that we saw with MySpace, where years down the line, there's so many users that have been shed that there's nothing left really. And that sucks because I like Twitter. I liked Twitter. We'll see how it goes. I mean, it's also possible that Twitter doesn't die out, but it's just not. I mean, maybe Twitter becomes a niche platform too. I mean, that could happen. That's a very likely scenario too. Because it's maybe those niches that don't find a place on Blue Sky, Threads, Mastodon, etc. Maybe they just become what Twitter's niche is, and Twitter isn't the mainstream real-time platform anymore for everything. It just caters to that few online industries or areas or niches. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. But I mean, what a perfect encapsulation of the tech industry and how it is just a total scam economy. Threads. I don't know how I feel about Threads yet. For people asking, I've never was a big fan of Instagram's user interface. It feels so rigid. It feels so like, I don't know how to explain it. It feels so blocky, and I don't know, like not as free flowing, I guess, as Twitter and Blue Sky. Like, I like how Blue Sky looks. I like Twitter still in terms of like its user interface and how things work on there. Not like the features Musk has screwed with, but like just like the stuff that worked before Twitter was bought by him. Threads doesn't let you just view a feed with who you follow. There's only an algorithm feed. It's very weird. Even Blue Sky lets you view just who you're following. Even Twitter still lets you do that. And Musk wanted to focus on the For You algorithm feed. And of course, there's the issue of Threads being owned by Meta. And, Zuckerberg is not great shakes compared to Elon Musk either. I mean, I think he's on a personal level, in terms of who the individual is, probably a notch above Musk. But in terms of how he runs his company, probably the same. And how I explain this, people have always asked me, why you think Zuckerberg... No. Zuckerberg is terrible on a billionaire running a corporation and doing what he needs to do to make as much money with his platform as possible level. Businesses are going to business. They suck. They're always looking to make money, and that's number one. So that's shit. But I think what Musk is worse on multitude of levels, in that Musk isn't simply driven by profit. He's also ideological. You just look at how he's running Twitter. He believes certain things and runs his platform that way. And there's no real pushing someone. Like, you can deal with the business guy by making it so doing something is best for business, and they will do so. I mean, you see this all the time with boycotts, corporate boycotts and stuff. With Musk, you can't do that because he comes from it ideologically. He's not looking strictly for profit. He's also running things based on his beliefs, his ideological beliefs. I mean, there's no other way. Even if you just put aside what he says and does, I mean, there's no other way to explain paying $44 billion for Twitter. I mean, it was never worth that, and it's never going to be worth that. Solomon in the live chat points out the Daily Wire and stuff like that does super good on Facebook. Oh, absolutely. Because it's good for business. They don't want to piss off that user base. But they're also limited in what they can say and do because Twitter's policies are much more strict. If you're a disinformation spreader or an anti-vaxxer, for example. That's not the case with Twitter. I mean, Facebook, right. All right, folks, that is the show for today. I hope you enjoyed this doomed and scam economy crossover episode. It's late. I'll take a few calls. I'll do calls for about a half an hour. How about that? I'll do calls till 1 a.m. But first, patreon.com/MattBinder to support this show. This was the worst month yet for Patreon. We have lost a lot of Patreon subscribers due to financial issues. Because when people leave, they can take a survey to say why they left. And trust me, people have said things like, I don't listen to your content anymore, or I don't like your content anymore, or I don't think the content you're giving is worth my money, or whatever. That happens every now and then, maybe like once or twice every few months. But we lost like a couple dozen people this month, and all but one, I think, specifically said financial issues, loss of job, their job, things like that. So if you can, patreon.com/MattBinder to become a Patreon subscriber. Your support helps this show grow. Let me shout out some of my more recent patrons, because I want to thank them, obviously. Because again, if I lose the patrons, then man, I don't know what I would do. It would take a huge step back on growing this show. Thank you to Nesta, Connor, Cat Dad, and Rosalind H. Thank you all so much for becoming patrons. at patreon.com/MattBinder. Of course, youtube.com/MattBinder. You can drop a super chat there. I'll read your super chats when we go into the call-in portion in just a minute. I will also, I'm going to, also launch the membership option on YouTube too. Some people have requested that. They prefer to sign up on YouTube. I wanted to just have one place everyone signs up, but if people aren't signing up because they prefer other platforms, I'm not going to stop them. So probably tomorrow, I'm going to launch the YouTube memberships option. I am also doing that now because YouTube for this month is offering me an incentive where they're giving me a couple $100 up front to launch YouTube memberships on my channel, and then a couple $100 extra bucks as well if I get at least 30 membership subscriptions on YouTube too by the end of this month. So it makes sense to do it, especially with people requesting and this combined. Also, twitch.tv/MattBinder. Follow me there. And if you're a Amazon Prime subscriber, you get a free Twitch Prime. Yeah, you get a free Twitch Prime membership each month to give out to your favorite creator. You're already paying for Amazon Prime, and you're getting this for free. And when you use it on Twitch, it gives money to the creator you choose. Like, it costs you nothing extra. It's making sure Jeff Bezos doesn't keep more of your money. It just makes no sense to not use it. So definitely connect your Amazon Prime account with your Twitch account. And if you want to give it to me, give it to some creator for sure. But if you want to give it to me, twitch.tv/MattBinder. Find me on Twitter, on Blue Sky, on Mastodon, and of course, on Threads now, at MattBinder. Follow me, where else? So, doomedcast.com for the podcast version of Doomed, scameconomy.com for the podcast version of Scam Economy. The call line will be open. Search Doomed Live on Skype. Give me a minute to open those lines. If you're watching live on YouTube or Twitch, don't go anywhere. We're not cutting you off. If you're a Patreon subscriber, don't go anywhere. We're not cutting you off. If you are only listening to the free podcast version of this show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or at those two websites, scameconomy.com and doomcast.com, this is where the show ends for you. And to those people, I will see you all next time on Doomed and on the Scam Economy.
Ecological collapse, corporate fascism, corporate journalism, police brutality, voter suppression, austerity economics, education masses, rampant homophobia,
What's up, Matt?
Hey,
You from Jamaica?
Dave from Jamaica. How are you doing, my friend? What are we going to talk about today? I don't think you are exactly what you claim you are. I would say you're conservative. What makes you liberal?
I'm pro-Green New Deal.
Are you? Yes, really? Absolutely. Really? No, I have watched the show. I've seen you completely come out and get really mad at Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez for some of the things in the Green New Deal.
You mean like free college for black people?
All right, we're back. Oh, why is it so loud? The call-ins. All right, let's take some calls. Hey, what's your name? Where you calling from?
Hi, my name's Erin. I'm calling from South Central PA.
Hey, Erin from PA. I see you're using the video feed. Would you mind if I pull up your video feed in the live stream?
Sure, it's cool.
All right, cool. I'm gonna do that right now. Here we go. Hey, Erin from PA. So what would you like to talk about?
There was that thing, like, I guessed it was like traffic issues like right away, and I know nothing about computers. Like it sounded like the video was buffering. Like
Oh, on Skype?
no, on like Twitter, like
Oh,
that,
right.
like,
Oh, you're talking about when the issues were happening this week. Right.
yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
and of course Musk is trying to convince all these like YouTubers and podcasters like, oh, upload your stuff here. This is going to be the new video platform. By the way, we're limiting how many people can view your shit. I mean, like, imagine if YouTube did that. Like, it would be ridiculous. Also, I should say, I feel like the ultimate thing that the ultimate proof that I'm an idiot is that here I am spending all this time on Twitter, Blue Sky, Threads now, all these platforms. I'm building my account on all these platforms that don't pay anybody anything. Like, why am I doing this? Why am I not spending more time on YouTube, Twitch? Why am I not doing TikToks yet? All those platforms at least pay creators. Maybe not pay them well, but you at least get something. I get paid. I have 150,000 followers on Twitter. I don't get paid nothing from Twitter.
yeah, it's absurd. Like, I don't know. I left like years ago. It stopped feeling like relevant. Like, and then it was like there was no relevant platform. Like, I don't know if that makes sense. It just felt like the whole function of Twitter just sort of broke down, and then there was nothing.
Right. I think it feels to me like YouTube and Twitch sort of grew in ways. It's sort of, you know, like Facebook is obviously just not a place for any. I know I go on Facebook because there's a number of groups I'm in for like different things like tech news and stuff like that, and it's more so just to see like what the general consensus is on issues from like people who are on there talking about stuff. But like news doesn't get broken for me, or I don't find out new information like breaking, like reporting or something like that on Facebook. And then like Instagram, I've never been. Instagram just doesn't feel like a platform for me. It's for people. It feels very vapid on there. I'm sorry. Like, it's just people posting photos. It's very much like a platform for people, for corporations and brands, and people who treat themselves like they're themselves as a brand. And that's just not something I care for. Tumblr, I know Tumblr still has like the art community and stuff like that, but that's, again, it's not, I mean, but YouTube and Twitch still feel very relevant to me. Whether I'm looking for like, oh, how do I do this? Or like a how-to, or an explainer, or music I'm looking for, or just something funny, and all the stuff I'm looking for, I could find it on YouTube usually. And so I feel like, but what sucks about that is, And the reason I've always been like such a hardcore Twitter user is like it does take time and effort to create good video content. And that's just not the case for text content. Like if I think of something funny or interesting, or I have some news to share, takes just a couple seconds to tweet or post on Blue Sky or Threads, I assume. Can't do that for YouTube.
No, yeah. Well, I like the community tab. I hope membership works out well for you. I've seen like other creators I like I don't use it well.
Yeah, they do have the community tab, but do people really use it like for like regular, consistent, like real-time posts? Or is I mostly just see it used for like polls and stuff, but maybe I'm just looking at the wrong people.
Yeah, polls. It's a lot of polls.
You know what? Maybe I'll be the first person to use the YouTube community tab as if it's it's Twitter or something. I'll just post regular thoughts every day and see maybe it'll work. Maybe it'll destroy my any algorithm placement I have. They'll be like, look at this guy posting all the time. No thanks. Throw him down the algorithm. We're not. We'll see, I guess.
They'll come up with a new version of the bell just for that.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It honestly does feel like Twitter is still the place for news, though. Like Blue Sky has its user base, which seems to be a lot of like techies. So tech news probably. I mean, when I post something, an article or report on Blue Sky, it usually does pretty well. But I don't know if like every other niche is experiencing the same thing, like, you know, entertainment news outlets or even political news outlets. I don't know. I mean, my politics content does fine on Blue Sky, too. But like Threads, I guess we'll have to find out that too. I haven't even tried posting anything on Threads yet. We'll find that out. But yeah, Twitter still feels like the place for that stuff. No one's sort of taken over there yet.
Cool. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not really looking forward to Threads other than there's this fly fishing group that I'm in, and I feel like it's just gonna be all flies. Like my Threads, it's just gonna be like all fly fishing.
Hell, I mean, that's what I'm talking about though. Like if like people's like different communities, like whatever that niche is on one of these platforms other than Twitter, then I mean, if Twitter loses the fly fishing community, is that the end of Twitter? No, but that's just another one of those cuts. You know what I mean? Like, if you get like 10,000 different versions of people's hobbies, like 10,000 equivalents to the fly fishing community, the knitting community, the crochet community, the anime community, the horror movie community, the et cetera, little by little, if they find a platform that fits them better, you know, you're going to lose a lot of people.
Yeah, I'm excited. I don't remember where I heard this idea, but like, do you think like Twitter is gonna become its own site, and like this stuff that's like Twitter now is gonna be like a part of X?
I don't know how he's planning on doing this X thing. I mean, if he changes the name of Twitter, I think that's a huge. I mean, can't put it past this guy at this point, right? Another huge mistake would be changing the name of Twitter to X. I mean, X is so generic. It's like such a bad idea to, like, I think it's very hard to call your company by just one letter and for people to know what they're talking about. Like, if Apple didn't get started back in like, what was it, the 70s? They could not just go by Apple now and people know what people are talking about. I mean, that's why so many of these companies have like branded names now, because it's hard to like become like to become, you know, what people think of when they hear of a generic word. You know, like even Meta is going to have an issue because they don't own they don't own Threads.com. There's actually another app called Threads that's like a Slack competitor, and they own Threads.com, and I'm sure they're pissed off as hell right now. And I'm sure if they want, they could get a big payday out of it. but they probably would have to change the name of their whole company. But I think it's very hard for someone to I mean, Google. Think of Google. Like if they were called like Search.com, I think it'd have been very hard for them to become what they were. I mean, they were able to turn their name into something people say. Oh, I'm Googling that. I think that's the route a lot of these companies tend to go, because it's just easier for people to know who you're talking about when you say the word. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe Threads will get there. I hope it does. I mean, I'm hoping for any Twitter alternative at this point. I hate that he was able to like crash the platform, as like it feels like an outsider to the communities that like Twitter
Right.
was supposed to help.
Well,
Um,
I think like maybe you'll be able to find it if like your specific communities are on other platforms. It's really going to be per user. It's gonna be different per user. Like I think for me, at least at this point, from what I see, there's gonna be no alternative. I'm just gonna be stuck, fucking every time I post something, copying and pasting to every single one of these platforms, because I don't know which post is gonna hit best where. And it's probably going to be different for each and every post. Like there's been stuff I posted on, I don't just like all, like it's not completely mirrored, like my Blue Sky and my Twitter. Like I'll post some things just for Blue Sky. I'm already posting some things just for Threads. But if it's something that I think fits all three, I'm gonna have to copy and paste. And sometimes like something I thought would do better on Twitter does better on Blue Sky. Something I thought would do better on Blue Sky does better on Twitter. And like it's like fuck, I just gotta. There's no alternative. It's just more work for me now. So that might be the case for a lot of people, and that might not be the case for a lot of people. Some people might be able to just delete Twitter tomorrow and never look back.
I don't know. It was easy for me. I feel like the first day is easy. Like it's not. I don't know. I never felt like.
Yeah, I mean, it's totally dependent on what you need to get out of these platforms. I mean, for me, I'm still kicking myself in the ass for not already, like, it's on me. Like, it's no one's fault but my own. How am I still not doing TikTok? Like, it's so ridiculous. I'm not doing it. I've had other people tell me, oh, man, I'm just posting, like, short, like, 60-second explainers of, like, the day, like, one topic in the news that day. And I'm getting, like, 30,000 views on like a video that took me like 30 seconds to record. And it's like, why am I not doing this? What's wrong with me? Like, but I just can't I just can't get myself to do it. That's like the platform I think I need to really sit down and be like, just fucking start on.
Yeah. I don't do it. I believe in you.
Thank you. I will. And I'll also finally launch the YouTube memberships for people who've been asking.
Sweet.
Thanks so much for calling in. This is first time caller, right, Aaron?
No, I called in when Lance was on.
Oh, right. I remember now. Right. Because I couldn't tell. I was like, you look familiar, but at the same time, I can't remember. And so, great to have you call in again, and look forward to hearing from you. Call in anytime.
Can I have a last word on there's just a topic that I really just don't want to hear like on a lot of platforms, and I know like a lot of people are listening. Can we just not talk about the TYT stuff like for a little bit?
Let me tell you right now, because you guys got about 75 minutes for me to get into this. No, I hate to break it to you. I agree. I've not even tweeted about it because I feel like I've said my piece. But I know something new has happened. It's pretty bad. It's pretty big, and I know because of my place in that world, people are gonna want to hear from me on it. It's almost, without a doubt, going to take up a portion of tomorrow's leftist mafia. I'm just warning people now. It's unavoidable. I mean, specifically because she literally called out leftist mafia multiple times in that video interview of hers that went viral. In addition to calling out leftist mafia, she called out some people specifically by name, especially Ole. Um, I don't know if Ole's going to be back on tomorrow, but I know David Dole's covered it. I know Humanist Report's covered it. I think she mentioned both of them or just David Dole. I can't remember. It's if you don't want to hear about it, maybe take a break from Leftist Mafia tomorrow, or tune in or skip the first 30 minutes, because I can't imagine people not wanting us to talk about it, and I think it's worth talking about it. I just don't want to talk about it a ton. So I've held all my thoughts for Leftist Mafia, where I know we're going to be stuck talking about
it. Well, thanks for that. Like, I don't know. I hate this. I really do. Like, I don't like what trans person wants this to last longer, but like, I mean, I don't know. It feels like all of this stuff always lasts for as long as I don't know. People want to like juice it.
Right. I mean, yeah. I mean, it's pretty simple. Just don't watch them anymore. I mean, I don't know what else to tell people. Like, honestly, it does sort of bother me. Honestly, that a lot of really good people who've been doing this for really long, myself included, just don't have the same reach as these creators or outlets that have shown time and time again that they're not worthy of the viewership they have. And I'm not just talking about TYT. I'm talking about all the other creators that just cause drama 24/7 and flip-flop on issues for whatever gets them clicks and views. And they have no real belief system. I mean, I've said this before. I think the simplest way to put it is I would put up the Majority Report against any fucking one of these shows or networks or whatever. The contrast is so stark. It's like there's not one bad person that has come from the Majority Report network in terms think about who Sam Cedar has picked and hired for his show, and then compared to anyone else, and there's no bench better than the Majority Reports. Emma, Matt Leck, Jamie Peck, of course, Michael Brooks, even the various producers he's hired over the years. We got Brendan, and of course Brandon Sutton, Bradley, who left. These are people who are legit, have never, gone after some new, group viewership and changed their ideologies to do that. In fact, I would say that everyone Sam Cedar has hired has ended up becoming further left than him. So, I mean, it's baffling to me that these other networks and platforms have become bigger in progressive communities than the Majority Report, because it makes no sense to me. But that's my own personal issue with the world.
I love the Majority Report. Definitely a big fan since 2017. So yeah, totally cool. Well, thank you so much. This was great. I hope Twitter goes away soon, ASAP. Fuck it, right? I don't know. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Thank you so much for calling. Bye.
Good night.
Wait, Bradley didn't leave? What is he doing now? He still works for Sam? I had no idea. He was the producer before Brendan, right? Oh no, wait, I'm messing it up. I meant whoops. I meant to say, you know what I'm saying. I did it backwards. Bradley's still there. And I see some people mentioning Nomiki. You know what though? Nomiki messed up, and before it became irreversible, she dropped out and endorsed the person who was the right person to endorse, and that person won. So even that technical foul on Nomiki's part was immediately ramified. Hey, what's your name? Where you calling from? Hey, you're on the air.
Oh God, that's embarrassing. That was quick.
No, not
Hey, how you
embarrassing at
going,
all. Don't
Matt?
worry about it.
There's Christ. I don't use Skype generally speaking, so this is a new and exciting experience for me.
Oh,
So
no, glad to
obviously
have you
it's a
call
real
in.
bummer. Pardon?
I said happy to have
Can you
you
hear me?
call in. Yeah, I can hear
thank
you
you.
perfectly fine. Where are you calling from?
Usually, I'm in Melbourne. I'm in Australia.
Oh, nice. Another
so-
Australian. I'm actually shocked how many Australians call into this show. I mean, I know it's like lunch. It's after lunchtime, right? It's 2 p.m. or something like that there.
Yeah, but very close. It's just nearly 3. So
Oh, there you go.
very good guess. But yeah, it's very nice. It's a cold day, but what can you do? But yeah, I was, because I know you said that it's very late and you want to go to bed, but I just wanted to say I am heartbroken that Elon Musk, like what he has done to Twitter, outside of the whole like he's a great main character and all that kind of stuff, like especially prior to Trump, like Twitter was a really beautiful place to have communities and stuff, and it flattened the access to, like, I'm friends with a bunch of like Simpsons, well, not friends, but you kind of like people that I know, like people that I grew up admiring, that I've like had chats with like on Twitter from the comfort of my couch and stuff, and like DM'd with, or like have like things that were enriching as a result of the democratization of access to people. And for Elon Musk, for his own fucking selfish and stupid reasons, to come along and go, I'm going to set the whole thing on fire because I'm actually very smart. And simultaneously, like, it's now he's given this brainworm to the guy who runs Reddit, who's like, let's charge for the API. Elon said that's a good idea. That'll make us look more expensive before we go off to the because they're looking to float at some point. So it's like, if we can have this revenue source coming in because we're charging for the API, oh shit, we're worth more. So that's more hookers and cocaine for me in retirement. And it's just, I know, like, Corey, Dr. O, like the idea of enshittification, and even like going on to threads, like, and seeing, actually, no, it's not by who you're following or chronological. It is Meta's algorithm has decided that this is what you want, and this is what you want it. This is what I know it's a black box of magic. And also, if in like 12 months time, as we go into the election, that algorithm turns out to be like a really toxic, horrible thing, because that has never happened under, I don't even know why the company's called Meta to begin with. It used to have a different name with some sort of connotations connected to that name in the public sphere that they wanted to get rid of. But maybe, I don't know.
They also changed it to Meta to show how they were now a company focused on the metaverse. And then they quickly moved away from that.
There's legs. I have legs now. Look, I can walk. I'm at my desk. I don't know. I've been working from home from 7 months. I work from my desk. If I put on a little helmet, I can pretend that other people who are working from home, it's like we're there in person, except we can't interact or say anything together because everything's been monitored because we're in a fucking headset. And that is the future, Matt. Think about it.
Right.
Like,
right. I mean, I've already said that, well, also one thing I'm pushing for is that, on Twitter, they're called tweets. On Blue Sky, there's a real movement to call them skeets. And I think on Threads, I think we need to call posts, we need to call them threats. I think that I'm going to post a threat online. And so One thing that's surprising to me is they're pushing the Fediverse, the decentralized protocol that basically will allow people to take their followers and their data to other Fediverse-based social platforms, which is not something I
Forgive
thought
my
that-
ignorance. What's the Fediverse?
It's what like Mastodon is based on. It basically will say you get banned from Threads, or you just want to leave
Right.
Threads, you can actually
Yeah, like an export
export
document or something. for
all
your,
that. Like you export
followers and
all
all.
your data and your followers as well, so you don't lose everything. And you could just bring it directly to another platform. Like it would all load up into that other Fediverse-based social media platform, which is not something I was expecting out of Facebook. You know what I mean? Meta, I should say. But it's very weird to see Meta go and do this with Threads now. I mean, it's obvious they see this opening with how Twitter's being run, but it doesn't fit into what they've been trying to do. It has nothing to do with the metaverse. I mean, what are they going to change their name to Fedi now? Because it's based on the Fediverse, like they did with the metaverse, and they changed the name to Meta. I mean, it's
Well, meta's maybe you could have it's a double meaning. So meta is actually refers to your Rolodex of people that you mentally keep. The other posters that you textually think about posting with, and then Facebook is like kind of making a real version of that in terms of that's the actual list. That's the Fediverse, and so meta is the idea. It is a meta concept.
right.
Or
Right.
it's just a bullshit marketing term to get away from the fact that they accidentally did a genocide. Either or, it's impossible
Right.
to
That's
know. Anyway. Like I said, it's very late. But as I said, I find it very heartbreaking. Like I know
Yeah.
it was there's a lot of shit in the platform, but like the fact that I even know who you are as an individual, like I've said this on Left Reckoning, because I'm like a Left Reckoning patron. I'm always bullying the other Matt, as should be done. But I only knew the Majority Report existed because when Michael Brooks passed, there was the huge outpouring of this grief and love and kind of and it was in watching these 30-second clips on Twitter that I'm like, oh, this is the funniest guy this is a guy who got it in this world of insanity. What a fucking heartbreaking thing. But through that collective outpouring of grief making him trend, I was introduced to his work and to his book and to TMBS and all that stuff. And
right.
that's the stuff that we get as the last call is fuck social media, it's pretty shitty. And I get that. But the other end of that is that there's the loss of the opportunity for new worlds. And it's just kind of, it's back to almost I don't know how old, you're about the same age as me and maybe a little bit older, but back when we were kids, when it's there's magazines and there's TV and it's what you're introduced to, as opposed to there's this huge platform you can kind of go on, and just by walking down the road of the online road, you can just see something randomly that you would have never been introduced to. And that I feel that that version of the internet with Reddit, with all of that, it's already nostalgic for a thing that doesn't exist anymore.
No, I know what you're saying. The internet feels very different, and what we're gonna see is you're gonna hear the social media people blame AI and stuff like that, and this has been long before the AI stuff. There's just this there was a time where this stuff would get me excited, these social media platforms and what they were doing, in the early the mid to late 2000s, even a little bit the early 2010s, when it was this shit's cool. People are coming out with interesting, cool stuff. And they seem to they're just letting people do their thing, and there's no just bombardment of monetization and advertisements and stuff like that. And then they decided to just throw all that wayside in search of the almighty dollar, and they all wanted to go public so they could sell out and make a ton of money on the stock market and selling shares and stuff like that. And it's just a very different space now. It just, and you could just see it dwindling. And I think, to me, the biggest disappointment actually isn't any of these social media platforms. It's Google. Google going after AI is the dumbest fucking thing I ever heard. Google created, hands down, the greatest online tool there is in Google search. And for the longest time, they truly had it right. And you truly could find exactly what you were looking for from legit authoritative sources.
We do one thing right. We do search. That's our thing.
Yes.
That was their primary motto.
Right. Even when they launched Google Ads, because Google Ads have been around for a really long time, they managed to simultaneously integrate the ads without hurting search for many, many years. And then
different color and stuff. And
right. Yes. And then sometime in the past, I don't know, 5 years maybe, all of a sudden it's like, yeah, you know what? Put those ads at the very top. Don't make them look any different than the actual legit organic search results. And now they're this push for AI, and they're demoing it, showing basically they're just pulling full ass content from websites and putting it right on the search page. So those websites aren't getting any credit, any traffic or anything. They're blowing a really good thing. And I think if they go that route officially and completely, I think that'll be the official nail in the coffin of the internet of old. And we will now live in this new fucking, everything's based on algorithms giving you, algorithms obviously already helped find the content for you, but there's going to be this extra step of not only is it finding the page that has the content, it's going to go in there and tell you which content you should see. And then it's also, by doing that, going to tell you to not give a shit about everything else, which it never did that before.
Context is really, when I'm looking for a piece of information, I don't want any context whatsoever. I just want to get just a fax, ma'am, and then I just guess. I just wing it. Just gut reaction based on, it's fucked. Right. And I hadn't actually thought about Google, but
and the sad thing too is Google made a lot of money too. That's the thing that makes zero sense. It's not like, okay, there's these
$15 a month. I pay for the premium. I don't use Spotify because they've got the Google Music. They have a good product if they actually, I understand they're now pushing people into it, but it's a good thing that they have.
Right.
And they're just,
their main product, like you said, is search. And that's where most of their revenue comes from. And I was actually I was interested recently about, who are the top tech companies now? Who are the tech companies that make the most money? And it's Amazon is number one. But I don't really, of course it's a website, an e-commerce site, but their main thing is getting people packages in real life. Their product is real physical products. Number two is Apple. Again, Apple, their main product is actually like physical products. It's even one step less online than Amazon, where Amazon's service is providing the platform for these physical products. Apple's main product is the physical products. They make the physical products. And then number three is Google, whose main revenue driver is not a physical product whatsoever. They're the company that makes the most from a purely online platform. And it's baffling to me that they wouldn't just continue with what works, because they don't need to do what these social media companies have to do, where they need to start scrounging because they're not making enough money. Google makes plenty. It just doesn't make any sense to me. It's so stupid for them to fucking ruin what they got going. And I know people are going to say, well, they got to compete with ChatGPT. OpenAI is changing things with ChatGPT. Bullshit. If I was Google, I would be doubling down on search and pointing out how ChatGPT is not a search engine. It's something completely different, and that search is the best way to get what you want on the internet. And that these AI chatbots are something completely else, and not to confuse the two. It is so stupid for them to try to compete, because it's just not the same product.
I don't know how much it's the like getting into the weeds, but like the idea of like Larry and Sergey, like Larry Page and Sergey Brin's original PhD thesis was like the thing that goes at the top is the thing that everybody is pointing to. Like it's based on like the same thing as like research in academia, right? It's like the article that gets referenced the most is probably going to be the most, that's going to be a good piece of research because a bunch of people have pointed to it as a good piece of research, and taking that into the realm of search and then stripping that away sequentially over the course of 25 years to the point that you no longer can actually get, like, I can't get stuff on Google that I used to, like, and with the Reddit, the changes to Reddit, with everything, like, it's not even a search engine anymore. And even if, like, before ChatGPT and all that kind of stuff, they were already starting to do that kind of like, can we shitify it a little bit? Can we maybe make it so that it's only like the two things at the bottom of the first page that are the thing that actually you were looking for? The rest of it is it's ads disguised as the thing you were looking for. Anyways, it's fucked. Thanks so much.
I'm being corrected in the live chat. I did not realize, honestly. Apparently, Amazon's main revenue source is actually now AWS, Amazon Web Services. I actually did not realize that. I knew it was making them a lot of money. I just didn't realize it was making them more than its e-commerce platform. Yeah, I'm gonna stick with my point remains though that Google's entire business is online services. Yeah,
and even cloud infrastructure. There's a lot of
right.
that is like that is physical. We had to get some farm out in the middle of rural somewhere to be able to build a server farm, and all of the infrastructure that goes into that. I mean, even though it is online, it isn't software. It's hardware integrated into software. So even if it is in the cloud.
Right.
So I agree that your point still stands. Anyways, thanks again.
All right, Dylan, thanks so much for the call. This was a great call. Please call in again. Have a great night.
You too, dude.
All right. I'll take one more call and then I'll read the super chats. Hey, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
It's Hansy, man.
Hansy from the Howard Stern Show. Hansy, how you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing good. What was it to talk about, my friend?
Well, I was going to talk about, the obvious, whatever, right? I was going to talk about the obvious, but I'm looking at the first caller and how she doesn't want people, because again, I don't want to like piss off your. Listen, I understand. I understand that we're going to get your full view on the leftist mafia, and I'm looking forward to it because you guys have been pretty cool, and you guys have been like a lot of the members on that show have been like the ones who are kind of giving her the benefit of the doubt, and she's doubling down. And the whole thing is like there's like normalized fascism that is like literally, and that's not exaggeration. That's what it goes. I know people think that word's used all the time. All that there's like normalized fascism going on, and this whole fucking thing is centering around Anna fucking Conspirian and her fucking mediocre sports entertainment personality that she can't fucking pull it off. I'm not gonna put any punches back. I'm sick of the fucking bullshit between her and Cenk, because and the reason why I'm getting a little bit more animated about it is because 5 years ago, if this were happening, and I don't look at myself as anti-trans, I probably would have been agreeing with Anna and Cenk, unfortunately. Like, I can fully fucking admit what my mind was. So that's why I get a little bit more fucking triggered by it, because I see other people buying into it. So, like, so I just wanted to kind of just, like, first of all, just say, like, I'm looking forward to what you guys have to say and all that. But I just thought, because I'm not going to get a chance to call into that show or whatever, right? So I just thought, like, I would just kind of give my just a brief thought about that before I talk about something else quickly. I don't want to hold you up so much.
Yeah, sure. No, go. I think what you say, the point you brought up is very important. Like, listen, when it comes to these online creators, especially someone I don't know, like people might think I know Anna. I've actually never really interacted with her. I don't know her personally. I've never met her. I've never spoken to her. People for some reason think like I have some connection to TYT. I mean, when I worked at the Majority Report, the YouTube channel was part of the TYT network at the time. And I would do like a monthly call with their YouTube guy, who was very helpful, very nice, very resourceful. Obviously, he knows what he's doing because he helped make the TYT's YouTube as big as it is. So it was very interesting, and I appreciate him taking the time to talk with me and strategize for the Majority Report. But that's it. Like, I didn't have any. I've actually never been on TYT.
No, I know that. I never. That's why it took me so long to kind of like. I heard you on other podcasts, and I. That's why it took me so long to actually get to like finally like know who you are officially, because normally everyone it's like WWE basically. Everyone has like a little gimmick segment once in a while. Like Kota Ibushi was in NXT for a second. You know what I mean? So like I always assumed that everyone would just kind of would go to TYT on some level. You know what I mean?
Right. No, but the reason I bring that up too though is because your point. Like so for me, I don't care about like, oh, Anna is a friend of mine and I can't believe she's doing this. So disappointing. I never came up on TYT. I have no personal, I never watched it. TYT did not get me into progressive politics. Did not get me into politics or progressive politics. Period. I just knew who they were because they were so big in the YouTube space, but that's about it. So I have no personal connection on any level to TYT or any of its hosts. But why it matters to me is exactly what you said. There are people who do, though, and they're going to hear this stuff, and they're going to say, because of their connection, the personal connection they feel to TYT and to Anna, and they're going to say, maybe she's right. I trust her on everything else. And that's not fucking good. That's bad. Obviously. Just very simple. That's bad. Because that's how you radicalize people. I mean, just look at their lineup of people who've left the left. It's a lot. That's not normal. I'm sorry. The fact that it is so many, that's not normal. Something is wrong there. That's firmly what I believe. I don't think it's purposeful. But someone is not doing their due diligence on the people who they bring on board. And I'm not saying Anna is one of those people. I don't know. It seems like she's going that way. But you don't get Dave Rubin, Jimmy Dore, and Michael Tracy in a row accidentally. Something went wrong there.
Yeah, okay, no, for sure. And listen, I just wanted to just kind of briefly just vent about it. I know there's people who want to just listen to what your show is, and listen, I completely empathize with them, because this argument shouldn't be revolving around like TYT. You know what I mean? But the fact of the matter is, they have dominated leftist spaces for so long, where they've made so much money.
I think that's important, though. It is important to talk about progressive media as a whole, which TYT is a big part of, to show this isn't about Anna personally. This isn't about Anna the person. This isn't about Jenk the person. This is about the stuff they are putting out there as part of their job, as their profession, as their role within the progressive political space. And they are blowing it. I don't know what else to say. They are blowing what they are apparently, according to them, have set out to do. And it's just, it's just that simple. It's just that simple.
Listen, what's it called? I'll move on to the next topic. I want you to save it for leftist mob. I don't want you to waste through your, you know what I mean? I know it's going to be more productive than just me just kind of calling in and kind of like having my bipolar meltdown about this whole situation. You know what I mean? So
also we know they watch Leftist Mafia. I don't think they watch my personal stream. So maybe it's best that I say this stuff on Leftist Mafia.
Well, yeah, no, that's true. And if she's listening to this show too, she can go fuck herself. I don't really give a shit. Now, let me ask you a question, bro. Because again, I don't want to talk about this, so maybe you don't watch the show. Have you ever been familiar with Sopranos or no?
it's a show, it's a series that many of you will be shocked to know that I need to watch.
Oh
I
my. Okay.
Yeah, I know. I had a very anti-TV arc when I was
I
in
know.
my
I know.
when I was in my teens because I was barely home to be watching TV, and when I was watching pro wrestling, of course. So Sopranos basically came out during my always out at live punk shows and always out at indie wrestling shows and just not watching TV at all phase. Now that I'm an old man and I have kids, I'm home a lot more. I watch a lot more television. If The Sopranos came out now, I'd probably be deeply invested. But I have to go back and watch.
Okay, no, that's cool. If you ever get a chance to, you should watch it because it does. It like especially now with politics, it probably ages a lot better because like you're not supposed to like the characters. They're all like ignorant, but I think it has a good commentary over mental illness, trauma, and all that kind of stuff. So it actually fits like the narrative of why people are like the way they are, and like mean that like they aren't racist in the sense that like they hate a particular community. It's more of like their protection of their own community, and I feel like that show represents it. But I was gonna just go through a theory, but if you didn't watch it, that's cool. I'll go to pro wrestling, and then I'll leave you alone. Thank you for taking my call. I know you wanted to get out of here, so but with the call, have you been watching?
No, I actually thought tonight, oddly enough, if I was doing my regular show, like at the normal time, oh, this is the regular show, but if I started at 9, like I usually do, and I would be tired by this point for some reason. I'm not tired at this point, but it's a miracle. So go ahead. I could take one more thing from you.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool. What's it called? Well, I went to a bunch of the live shows for AEW that came to Canada, and I just wanted to kind of like like give you like the vibe. Dude, what's it called? I know like it's like contentious about the booking and some of like the but the crowds. It feels like I'm in an '80s territory now. Cause like I was in Toronto and CM Punk, man, he got showered with booze. You know what I mean? And it felt like Bret Hart it felt like Bret Hart '97 all over again. And I went to Forbidden Door. I think Omega and Ospreay was probably like the greatest match probably in that building. But there's a lot of wrestling in that building. And then I went to Hamilton. I was like, I actually made it on television behind CM Punk when he was on commentary. Yeah, on Collision, whatever, right? So I just wanted to ask you quickly, man. Have you been watching any wrestling? Have you taken anything in? Like, are you interested? Like, did you see the Usos beating Roman Reigns and Roman Reigns took a pin?
I did catch Money in the Bank. I have to say, a weekend afternoon pay-per-view is an absolute great time for a wrestling pay-per-view for parents who have kids and want to watch wrestling with their kids. I hope WWE does more of those. It's obviously a function of them being over in the UK, but it was great because my son got to watch and he wasn't tired, and my daughter got to watch and she didn't have to go to bed, and it was a great pay-per-view. I really enjoyed it. I thought from top to bottom it was fantastic. The wrestling was good. The storylines were good. Well done. When they do good, they do good. I agree with everyone who won too, for the most part. The Roman Reigns storyline is still fantastic. And they're selling me more and more on Cody every single time. I'm telling you, if he wins, if they pull the trigger, obviously at this year at WrestleMania 2024, I think it'll totally be worth having him not have won it this past WrestleMania. I think his story is so much better now. It's not him just being shoehorned in out of the blue. We are seeing him actually build himself up as a real contender, really struggling to get back to where he was, but managing to pull it off. It's going to be a much better when they do it this time around, if they do it this time around.
Well, yeah, what's it called? I'm for Cody winning it, but what I liked a lot is that, like, people might think that, Jey Uso pinning Roman Reigns, like, kind of ruins it because Cody should be the first person to pin him. I think Jey Uso needed a milestone to get a payoff for what he's contributed to the storyline. So I don't mind it because now going into SummerSlam, what's it called? Jey Uso has a pin over Roman Reigns. And now it's convincing that you go, wow, he might be able to take it. And plus, from what I want to see from Reigns, I want to see him unhinged. Like I want to see this is the first pay-per-view where he goes into where he's losing everybody, Heyman, even
Right.
Soul Koi. You know what I mean? So I like the notion. Did you agree? I'll leave after this, whatever. But did you agree with the notion that Jey Uso should have got the pin on Roman Reigns?
Absolutely, absolutely. I don't think Cody needs to be the first person to pin Roman. That's not important to his story. It means much more here. I mean, I would be interested in Jey Uso winning the title from Roman. I don't think Cody needs to be the person to defeat Roman. Again, Cody's story, for the most part, has nothing to do with the bloodline. That's his story is finishing the story, is to go from where he was, Dusty Rhodes' son, who couldn't make it in the WWE as Bob Holly's tag team partner because he wasn't quite there yet, couldn't get the rub from Randy Orton's group, just didn't have what it takes, left, did something else, built himself up, and came back much better than he ever was, and is now trying to do what he couldn't do when his father was still alive in honor of his father. I think that is that Cody's story is an internal struggle. It has nothing to do. Roman just happens to be there as the guy.
I agree. No, I agree with you wholeheartedly, man. And before I go, listen, bro, I just want to say flat out, like I know I would give you compliments and shit, whatever, right? People love compliments, but I want to say that thanks for being one of like the better voices in leftist spaces because bro, like a lot of things I used to listen to, like they've all completely gone to shit. And you know what I mean? So I like having like a little bit of positivity, but also addressing the issues because I'll tell you one thing, if like this is 6 years ago and the domination of like, let's say, did you know that trans women can breastfeed? Because I would not understand it. My immediate reaction would be a reactionary and go the other way. Now I'm like, so I don't understand every single thing. Not every trans person is going to bite my head off if I don't know everything, but I'm not purposely trying to be ignorant or anything. I'm still new to me, whatever, but you know what I mean? But I'm trying to get better and all that kind of shit. But I'm glad that like there's other people like, like you guys out there in leftist mafia, at least to like, kind of correct some of the stuff because there's a lot of propaganda that you go, okay, well, this person's credible. And so I appreciate you and all the work you do. And thanks for taking my call. I always enjoy, I'm a very depressed guy. So whenever I call into this show to talk to people or on post wrestling, I feel more happier a little bit that I get to interact with.
I appreciate you said that to me means much more than, you said a lot of kind words to me. But that end part right there meant more than everything you said before. It means a lot. I know it's not so simple dealing with depression. I'm lucky in a sense where I can't say I know how you feel because I've fortunately never really had to deal with that. But I will say that I really enjoy when you call in. I really enjoy talking with you, and I think your story. I really enjoy talking with you about everything, especially the wrestling stuff. But your story about how, you came from, you were from the house. You became like a sort of known figure in certain spaces because of your connection with the Howard Stern show, and you started falling into this sort of right wing space for a while, and you discovered left-leaning content online and sort of pulled yourself out. Your story with that is so important that more people really should know about it. And we really should do like a main episode. Like we should work out a date where you could come on as like the actual guest for the first half. So you can sort of help walk through people through how you did that in more detail. Like it's a very hard thing for a lot of people to do once they start falling down that rabbit hole to not go further. And I think you can actually help a lot of people by just sharing how you did it. Whether they could replicate your experience or not, maybe they can't, but I think just letting other people know that you did it and how you did it and that it's possible is important. So let's definitely set that up. We should definitely do that.
Okay, so dude, I know you're not gonna be on Twitter long, but if you want to follow me, Hansy83, follow me and we'll exchange messages. I don't know if you want to really follow me. I don't know. I have unhinged tweets sometimes when I'm like going through it, but like it's always like centered around like hating fucking very far right wing people. So if you want to follow me, Hanzi83, HANZI83. I'd love to talk to you. But yeah, dude, thanks for putting me on, and thanks for letting me speak my piece. And I really do like your community, bro. So thank you again. And I'm gonna say good night though. But keep doing your thing, man.
Thanks a lot. Really appreciate it. Have a great night. All right, we're gonna go to the super chats now because I don't think we've ever had a single day of super chat with this much, and the number of times someone specifically is is dropping a super chat makes me wonder if maybe they've been hacked and they're gonna need to log in and get refunds from YouTube because some of these super chats are large. And I've been getting some pretty big super chats during, not big, but a lot of super chats. We received a few big ones, actually. But I've been getting a lot of super chats during Leftist Mafia. And so I was shocked at how much I've been getting during the Leftist Mafia streams. But tonight has outdone it. And I started late tonight. True story, by the way. The reason I started late tonight, I started at 11:30 instead of the usual, like, 9 o'clock time. I took my son to see the New York City Football Club play at Citi Field tonight. We are together, both really getting into soccer. I used to be really into it when I was a kid. And then over the years, I fell out of it. But he, as a 7-year-old, he's going to turn 8 this Sunday. So happy birthday to my son, Ezra. So tonight was part of his birthday gift. But he's getting really into soccer, like way more into it than I ever was. And because I'm having so much fun watching it with him, watching him play soccer with his team, I'm getting into it again too. And so I took him to the MLS game tonight at Citi Field. And is Matt bragging about how rich he is again? I bought $17 tickets on the aftermarket like an hour and a half before the game started because I knew that's how it works at Citi Field. A lot of games go up for cheap. If you ever want to go to a game at Citi Field, whether it be Mets or MLS, and you don't care about where you sit, you can get really cheap Citi Field tickets if you buy them right before the game starts. It was $17 a ticket. So I took my kid, so that's why I was late. Got home, said goodnight to him, and came right here to stream. So I'm a little bit tired. Been a long day. I know you were joking, Ren. I was just answering your joking question. I also, because of my son, I also joined a soccer league as well. I'm playing again. It's just for fun, obviously, because I'm an old man. But I'm playing soccer again. I joined a league. I was really rusty that first game, but the second game, which was last week, I was much better. Shockingly much better. All right, let's read these super chats. Narrator with a $20 super chat. Y'all hate Elon because you don't understand he's a leftist psyop proving capitalism doesn't work. Being a billionaire doesn't make you a genius, and getting enemies of the left to pay money to mark and identify themselves. If only that were true, narrator. It'd be very funny. Mike Thompson with a super sticker. Thank you so much, Mike. The lemon guy raising both his thumbs up. Thank you so much. Phil B with a super chat. You taking calls? I just did. Some of these are from before I started taking calls, obviously. Wanda with a super chat. When are you starting the YouTube membership? I'm going to turn it on either tonight or tomorrow morning. It should be automatic right away. And I will make the official announcement during Leftist Mafia tomorrow. Unless YouTube doesn't turn it on right away, in which I guess we'll have to wait another week. But I'm going to turn it on tomorrow. Tonight or tomorrow. Narrator with a super chat. YouTube membership push tomorrow during Leftist Mafia. That's the plan. That's the plan. Michael Reich with a $83.36 super chat. Oh my God. Thank you so much, Michael. We're going to Guyana. What's this in reference to? But thank you so much. Really appreciate that. You know what? I gotta put some of these big ones up on here we go. This was from Narrator. And now let me get let's see. Michael Reich's up here. I don't know what that means though. I'm sorry. Narrator with another super chat. Amazon's main revenue is AWS Web Services. Right, I read your thing before. Thank you, Narrator. Some other people sent it too, but you're the one who did the super chat, so I'll read yours. Narrator with another super chat, this time a $10 super chat. Jenk says affirmative action is bad because affirmative action and not racism is the cause of racist, devaluing people of color in positions of esteem and no one cares. TYT has turned. Yeah, terrible take. Terrible take. It's just not true, obviously. All right, here are these three that I cannot believe. I don't think you're going to see the sticker when I pull it in. It's just going to describe the sticker. But let me pull them all in because I could not believe. I can't believe these. It almost makes me think that he got hacked. And that these are gonna be taken away tomorrow morning or something like that. But Jap, I'm sorry if I'm messing up. Jap Van Muhidin, I'm so sorry. With four separate $50 super stickers for a total of $200. One is the pair riding a firework rocket disappearing away before bursting in the sky. I'm guessing that's for 4th of July. Happy 4th of July to all of you. Another is the giant pair waving flags and turning around, making the buildings in front of him tremble. Another one is the giant pair, another giant pair one. He sent the building one twice and the firework one twice. Thank you so much. My God. Jim Kentner with a super chat. As another aging ABC No Rio attending Straight Edge kid, I'd love to see you and the Mafia host guests at the intersection of music and leftist politics. Yeah. I'm out of the loop with the modern day scene, I guess. But yeah, I should do that. I'm working on music again. I've said that before. It's not ready to be released, but that I think will do more in that regard than just talking about it. Man, ABC No Rio. Ooh, I saw Against Me there. I'm sorry. This is someone with either a Russian or a Ukrainian name. I can't tell. I'm sorry. A 420 super chat. By God, it's Matt Binder with the left hook. Good for Gabby with a $20 super chat. Much love and respect. Thank you so much, Good for Gabby. So Ren with a super chat. FD on Leftist Mafia when? He was supposed to be on last week's, but then Olay had to back out because of some personal matters she had to deal with. And being that FD's connection to the show is through Olay, it didn't make sense for him to come on without her there. So he will be on. I just don't know when. He definitely will be on. Renee with a super chat. Just join the T app. I'm guessing you mean Threads. All right, folks. That is the show. I'm in awe of how this late night stream did. We peaked at like 450 viewers on YouTube, and I think it was like 125 over on Twitch. Who should I rate on Twitch? Don't want to. There's still a good 70 people watching on Twitch. Who's on right now? Is Benny on right now? No. That would have been a good rate if they were on. Keffels is on. What's Keffels doing on Twitch right now? I know Keffels rankles some people's feathers, but Keffels is one of the good ones. Even though maybe her penchant for online drama gets her in trouble sometimes. Oh, Keffels is talking about Anna. Then we're rating Keffels 100%. All right, folks. Have a great night. Again, if Patreon's your thing, patreon.com/MattBinder to support the show. If you're thinking about joining, now would be a good time because I could use the memberships just so we don't drop any lower. Because then I might start freaking out because the Patreon membership level is at a point where like it's a necessary part of my income, and I would be worried if I lost that. So again, only if you can afford to do so. If you cannot, I'm not talking to you. And if you don't want to, I'm not talking to you either. This is for people who have been thinking about it and just haven't pulled the trigger yet. All right, folks. See you tomorrow on Majority Report and Leftist Mafia. And have a great night.